Good afternoon, citizens, heroes, and villains out there. Welcome to Sean Humburg's Creative Corner. I'm Sean Humburg, and this is KC. Thank you so much for tuning in. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than the others. We're going to be using an all-new medium, one you may not expect. So we've done drawing, we've done paint, we've even done wax. Today, we're going to get into the virtual world. So I got myself this Oculus Quest 2 and the Magus statue that you saw in the last video that did not work out twice. We're going to try redoing that, but this time we're going to do it in VR. So this video isn't going to be the full statue, but this is going to be an introduction to my interaction with the VR program. I'm using Gravity Sketch for this, and you're going to see my opinions on it, my first use of it, and then if you want to skip forward through that, you can see me actually creating something in Gravity Sketch. So this is going to sort of be a three-part video. First part being my first use of the program. The second part being me actually making something in the program. The third sort of being a product review for the Oculus Quest 2 and its use with sculpting. Now, the really cool part about this, which we'll be getting into in a future video, is that anything that I sculpt in this, I will be able to print in one of my 3D printers. So we're going to sculpt, print, and paint Magus. But this is just the introduction to that part. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment in the comment section down below what you would like to see in future videos. And let's see how this comes out. Alright, so this is my desktop for my Oculus Quest. This is the Cyber City, but that's not what we're doing today. So I wanted to try this new app. I just got it, been hearing so much about, called Gravity Sketch. Gravity Sketch is going to let us do 3D design and drawing. So my Magus sculpture kept breaking apart, and I pretty much give it up on that one. So, Gravity Sketch is going to let us do that. And we're going to, I've never opened it before. This will be my very first time. And we're going to learn all about this together. So, here we go. Okay. So it looks like we have a menu here. Beta available, tool belt. Alright. So let's go ahead and get started with a new sketch. Let's see. So it looks like this is how I pick out my colors. Darker and lighter. That's cool. This, the undo button. I guess that's my tools, and that's my menu. Grid size, mirroring, grid, vertical lock, home orientation, preferences. Workspace. Ooh, what's this? Warehouse. Oh! Hey! It's got different environments. So we can sculpt in a workhouse. Just a white studio. Just white. So you can set it custom how you want. You can work in a black room, that's dark. And then I guess when you're working in a black room, you get this little flashlight. Ooh, I just accidentally drew something. I like the warehouse. Oh, wow. Okay, so here's our little, I guess we draw from the little point here. Whatever you draw just hovers. Whoa! So we have this three-dimensional thing we just created. So I'm guessing this little red button here is the undo button. Yep, that's undo. Left and right changes the scale. Up and down changes our selection. So this little orb in my handle is what we're able to select. And then the ball in the end is the tool. So we can make that bigger or smaller. There's a little clock thing. Oh! So this little clock thing allows us to go forward and backward in time to what we did. So that's our history right there. So we have different tools. Okay, so this is the revolve tool. This is the one I've heard so much about, that you could basically make vases instantly. Okay, so let's undo that. Okay, so there you can change the size of it. So when we look at our tool, we can adjust what we're doing, change whether or not it's low poly, change the rotation, and the thickness. But I'm wondering how we change the, oh, okay. So if you grab this grip right here, it changes the orientation. So that is our thing. We change the size there. Okay, so I can spin it around whichever way I want. So if I guess, okay, if I walk closer to this line right here, that tells me where the center point is. But that line is also extremely close to the grid. As you can see, as I walk further towards the grid, if I actually walk up to the grid, turn to the grid, and then I can walk through it, and it shows me a black and white of everything that I'm looking at. Alright, so backing it up away from it, let's select a different tool. Let's try and bring back, I'm not sure how to change the location of that. Let me try and reset my HUD. Maybe, yep, that brought it closer. So, how far back can I go? Okay, reset again. Okay, so here's my resolve. So, grab with this right here, this grip, right there. And then I can set it where I want. And then if I click here and hold it, I'm actually creating a vase. This is so cool. Alright. So, I just made that. This is the coolest part about it, is now I can walk all the way around this thing. Just like that. So let's undo that. Let's look at some more tools here. We have the surface. Oh yeah, the surface sculpt tool. So I heard about this one. You can adjust what your surface tension is, and that will make it tighter or smaller. So let's make it not quite so thick. And then this will allow you to draw just like that. And look at that. That is a giant ribbon that we've created. So let's undo that. Let's look at some more tools here. We have our ink, which was, I think, the first thing we dealt with. Yep. So let's let's see my signature hovering. So from there it looks like my signature, but from here it looks like a jumbled mess. That's cool. Okay, so there's our ink one. Then we have our stroke. Stroke! Okay, so stroke doesn't leave the tips at the end. So let's get rid of those. Now we have our volume. Okay, so volume's going to always connect that first point. So if I draw this right here, it's going to fill it in. And it's always going to connect back to that center point. So this would be a really cool drawing mechanism. Okay, so it's highlighting what I drew. So if I grip it like this, I can actually move it and change the placement of whatever I drew, just like that. Now, this little ball right here that allows for my, what I'm grabbing, if I increase the size of that, lets me grab multiple pieces at a time. So I can grab those. So let's undo those. Now let's do it with the clock, because I thought that was really cool. Right, now we'll keep rotating. Then we have primitive shapes. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? And then we have just basic shapes that we can put out in space here. So let's look at those shapes again. Oh, you can also do text. I can do 3D text. Okay, and we have torus, soft cube, 2 hands. Okay, so if I hold the trigger, it allows me to pull my hands further apart and closer together to alter the size. So now if I hold this and then I grab it with the other hand, it also allows me to scale it. Oh, that's interesting. So, very much like in Blender, if you hold this button and then click this right here, it gives you these little dots that I'm guessing let you move it on certain axes. Oh, okay, and then I can stretch it out any way that I need to. So I can make this more of a disc. Very useful. Okay. And here's the thing, is you can't see it from in here. If you can, and you're an artist, or if you just love gaming, definitely get an Oculus Quest 2. You can't beat it for the price. This one was, and this is not sponsored, this was $299, or the one I got was $399. It's 256 gigs. The smaller one with 64 gigs is $299, which the graphics card you would need to put in your computer to do things like this costs more than that. This is a standalone thing, and you don't need the 256 to be able to do this program. This is actually a pretty small program. Alright, so let's look at other tools here. The volume one, surface, resolve. So let's look at more options on resolve. So we have the 8-sided, 6-sided, 4-sided, 3-sided, and the star. We can change low poly so that we're not taking up as much space. Let me see. Okay, so right trigger is where we move this line right here. Okay, so grip allows you to rotate it and move it from its position. Right trigger will actually allow you to set it exactly where you need it to be and then do whatever you need. That looks like a chocolate fountain. Okay. So we have our color swatch, and I absolutely love the way that they designed this right here. So if you push it further in, it goes to black. Pull it out out, it's a brighter color, and then you just select the color that you want. So if I want just a bright red, I put it right there, pull it out, and there. Look at that. So I want to mess around with the ink tool some more. Adjust the size smaller. You can do such fine details with this right here. Okay? Look at that. So let's go back there. Let's go back to our tools. Okay, so instead of hitting that button or holding that button, you can also push in the analog stick to also select your colors. What does this one do if you hold it in? Okay, that goes to your tool selection as well. Okay, so here we have our settings again. We have prefabs. Okay, this program just took the cake. We have a mannequin right here that we can just put in. Okay, so grab it. Import model. Okay, so I put him right here. So now, if yeah. I apparently imported that one. That was scary. Okay, so apparently there's another two mannequins here that I imported without realizing that I imported them. That doesn't really count as a mannequin. That is not letting me mess with it. Alright, let's get rid of that guy, because that was absolutely terrifying. Why is it still there? Okay, let's just work on this guy. Okay, so let's get rid of that setting menu. So if it worked the same way as the shapes, if I grab this and then I grab with the other hand, I can increase the size of this guy. I can lower him down. Put him flat on the floor. Get big fast. How fast they grew. A little bit smaller. Okay, so now he's about my size. So now I'm wondering if we can pose him, or if he's just right there. But look at that. Now I've got a mannequin my size. That thing is bugging me. So what, is it an erase tool? You have reference images. You have different layers. Faces. Oh, I see. This is just showing me what's there. Okay. Oh, what? Okay, so apparently if I have a menu screen like that one, I can actually take it and put it in my workspace. Look at that. I can actually snap that to right there. Let's see, what else do I have? Doesn't work with this, but if I do if I click on that, well, yes. So look at that. I've got my tools right there in my workspace. So I can go here now and select any of my tools. This program just keeps getting better. So now I have a workspace And I actually have the ability to quickly change what I'm looking at. Right here. So I've got that. Can I do the same thing with my color swatch? It doesn't look like it, but I mean, that's fine because I don't need to do a lot with that anyway. So I've got my tools there. I can do a new sketch, save my sketch, export my sketch, take a screenshot, exit to lobby, preference profiles, settings, I believe I already had up. So, okay, so if I come back to this, it moved it. So I'm going to put that back right where it was there. So that I can quickly change from my workspace. Mirror. That was creepy. So that changed the vertical lock. Home orientation. Okay, so I guess that's my home space. Let's get that guy back over here. So I'm still not seeing where I can pose the mannequin, so that's going to take me a second to figure that out. Grid. Okay, you can actually put up a grid that shows up when you're close to it. Oh, look at this. So now when I'm on a grid, what I'm doing is quickly connecting to the different points. So I can draw a pretty good cube just like this. So now everything I'm doing is locking in. Nice. Okay, so let's get rid of that. So now I know what the grid does. Let's get rid of the grid. Let's get rid of vertical lock. Now we have the mirroring. And I've already, I mean, if you've ever done anything with Blender, you know what the mirroring does. So, standing here in the mirror, so now you can see the little red dot right here. And the red dot is doing the exact same thing on the other side as this side. So if I draw something, it is mirrored. That is gorgeous. That is like a Rorschach, three-dimensional Rorschach. That is fantastic. So let's undo that. So we know what mirror does. That's not new to anybody. You can change the mirror style, World Atlas, Stage 4. Square, round, off. Okay. Smart move is on. Preferences. Ghost move. I don't want to turn that. Alright. Let's go back to the menu here. Let's put this back over here. What else do we have? We have reference images, which you can import. What is this one? Let's see what it gave us as a reference image. And make it bigger. Ooh! You can also apparently change the size of those. But let's do this. Okay, so the reference image they gave you is how to use reference images. That's fantastic. I don't know how to get rid of things though. Oh, so you hold and then click. Okay. So let me show you how I did that. So if I take a reference image and oh no, I just made the Iron Giant undo. Can't undo the Iron Giant. I'm sorry, buddy. You've gone too far. I think you're outside of my grid. Oh no, I got you got it. Back down. Back down this size. Let me just make you really tiny. You keep getting in the way right now. You just hang on right there, buddy. Okay, so now if I take this, I can make this larger or smaller. So you really can customize your workspace however you want to. Pretty fast, we have that pulled up. Layers. Beautiful. So you can pull up a layers menu right here. And now you can quickly add layers and switch between your layers. So let's see us adding layer. Adding layer. And if we add the layer, it automatically lets us switch those layers, but I can lock that layer and I can't move anything in that layer. So that is extremely useful, okay? And I can change the opacity of it too. Look at my little ghost mannequin. Fantastic, okay. So if I hold this one, I can also grab it and then that red button will delete it. So that layer is asking me if I want to delete it. Yes, because I don't need that layer. All right. Then you just have this learning thing. Okay. So we have our tools now set up over here. We can change the pressure and the speed and the size and the kind of shape that it is. And we can look at the different kinds of tools here. So that's the surface tension. So we've got these shapes right here, and I'm curious, does it actually draw with that shape? Ooh, go down. Ooh. No, it does not. Let's undo that. But stroke allows us to select shapes. So if I, yep, and now we're drawing with a square. So increase the size of that. Oh, that's not a square, that's a something else. Square style. Stroke shape. Okay, so you can change the width on that. Polar symmetry. So you can change how the symmetry works. So if I do this, it's going to create it on the other side. So let me undo that. I need to rotate this. I'm going to get rid of this guy real quick. Okay, so if I rotate my line, it's recognizing what I'm doing on the other side. That is beautiful. So a really cool way to make spirals. So let me undo that. Let me do this. That looks very close to a drawing I used to do all the time when I was a kid of these dragons. That is going to be one of my projects. We got planar free input. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Oh, plane. Okay, so with planar, it has this here, but no matter how far I lift up or down, it stays in the plane. So this is interesting because this means that if I wanted to, let me change my color to a black. I can just sketch, just like that. And then I can grab the pieces that I sketched and they're perfectly flat. Look at that. Fantastic. Okay, so now let's try to do a drawing real quick. So let's do the same drawing I did when I was 4 years old. Nope, that's horrible. Let's try this again. Nope, nope. Here. Give us the ears. Give us the ears. Nose. Oop, oop. Nose. Mouth. Look at that. I just recreated my drawing in 3D. Look at it. So if I look here, 2D, 3D. All right, let's undo all of that. Fantastic. So that's planar view. So let's try and draw something. Let's try and actually make something. I'm going to go to the stroke there, and I have this little creature named Marty. And Marty is a little zombie guy that I created a long time ago, and I think it'd be really cool to see Marty in 3D. So I've got my settings over here, sketching aid, so I can turn mirroring on. Do that. And I need to move the mirror to right here. Okay. And let's change the color, because Marty is in fact a zombie. A little bit darker. Increase the size a little bit. Let's do this. So Marty is a little alien dude. Or sorry, not alien dude, he's a zombie. He is Marty the zombie. Oh, this is going to be really interesting to try and get into 3 dimensions here. Okay, so let's see here. Let's fill that in. So this is obviously going to be very, very rough. Marty has. Let's get Marty eyes. So let's go to shapes. Right here, and we'll do a sphere. Okay. So smaller sphere. Oh, I need to change the color of that. So let's undo that. Let's get the color to white. There. Now let's do a sphere. There we go. And Marty's eyes are going to be right about there. Right there. Okay. Let's go back to stroke. And go back to the... Oh, we can select the previous screen. Perfect! Okay. So one thing I haven't seen is an eraser tool. This may not be built with an eraser tool. Because I can grab this line right here and get rid of it, but I couldn't erase it. So that's fine. That's fine. All right. Hey, Marty. So, okay, so cool. I can grab the whole thing and shrink it down. Oh, yeah. So we shrink it down right here. Okay, and what's really cool, look at the little ball on the end of my thing. So when I scale the drawing up and down, it automatically scales my tool with it. So if I scale it down to right here, there we go. So Marty is definitely going to take some getting used to this. I'm not used to drawing in 3D, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a learning curve. Let's give him his eyelashes right there. Okay. All right. So his nose, let's go to the bridge here. I think this Marty's starting to look a little bit more scary than he was than his cartoon counterpart. Down, out. That's too big. There we go. Hey, buddy. Okay, so here's his mouth. Nope, too big. It goes right down here. Oh, what am I doing? This isn't like a regular sculpture. I can flip them around. Make things so much easier. That's one of the things that's going to be hardest to get used to, is that I'm so used to being limited by what I'm able to do. When you're in VR like this, you're really not. So I mean, I'm using my left one. I can spin around wherever I need to, and then start drawing just like this. Oop, that went out a little bit. Marty has some pretty defined cheekbones because, you know, he's a zombie. This is cool. So I'm gonna shrink my tool size. I'm gonna take that one out. That one didn't work. Alright, look, we're starting to get a creature here. Don't even know if I'm facing the camera at this point. Yep. Alright. So there's back of Marty's head, and I'm drawing lines just to give myself sort of a reference point here. Know where I'm coming in. So he can have a little bit bigger temple here. And then increase this just a little bit. Fill this in. Oh, went too far there. Undo. Okay, so there's another thing to remember, is that if you just keep going for one long stroke, you're going to regret it. Because then if you mess it up and you undo it, you're undoing everything you just worked on. And of course, this is very rough because I just want to be able to do this as a drawing right now. But we have a lot of other tools that we'll start learning more later. So this right here is off. Ooh, that's one big part. Oh, I can just move it back a little bit. Hey, that's nice. That one. I mean, even after a little bit, you do start to get a feel for it. And I'm sure there's a lot about this program I don't understand yet. And it's another thing is getting used to placing things inside the object, because I'm so used to having to do it right on top of the object. I have no idea where. Oh. Okay. So this has been turned on the whole time. Polar symmetry has been turned on the whole time. So all of this is not supposed to be there. Okay, we're just gonna ignore that part of the zombies over there. That didn't happen. Okay, so continuing on this one. That was creepy. Continuing here. here's why I really want to get into this and really get good at this. This can be taken right into a 3D model. Okay, so now you can see the inside of Marty here. I can make this bigger and work on details however I want to. So break it down a little bit. So instead of trying to work out with these tiny little details and everything, and like right there, I can see that doesn't really need to be there. Get rid of that real quick. So now I got to do the inside of Marty's head. Here. Very satisfying to do this too. So right here is going to be inside of his head because his brain kind of falls out every once in a while. He's a zombie. He's not exactly all together. Now I can use this little waving pattern to give it some curve. Cover up what's left there of the eyes. Alright. We have the makings of a zombie here. Oh, I can actually hold it while I'm working with it too. So if I need to keep moving it around, keep working on it, I can. That's awesome. And shrink it back down. Hey, look at that. We have ourselves a little zombie head. And considering how it was done there, it really does look kind of like a zombie head. Okay. So I still got to learn a few things. I still have to learn how to smooth it, how to do the surfacing. There's still a lot to learn. But this is a fantastic start. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will continue to do this. In future videos, you're going to see me do complete models. I'm going to practice with this. I'm going to get better at this. And I'm going to start doing sculptures. And that Magus sculpture that fell completely apart. This is my medium. I found one. Found one that I could do it. And the greatest part about this is instead of having to worry about those microscopic details and the clay breaking apart and adding and subtracting and dealing with a lot of stuff that might fall apart in the future anyway, I can make it as big as I want. And then I can print it as many times as I want. Look at this. We are inside Marty's head. We are inside Marty. We're looking at Marty. Look at that. Right out of Marty's mouth. That is a creepy face on the other side. Looks like the mask from Mask before Jim Carrey actually put it on. Alright guys, so this has been an absolute blast. I want to see what I can keep doing with this, and I'm going to start making 3D sculptures. Some of them are going to be completely free to download, and I'm so excited about this program. Thank you for joining me along with this journey. Okay, so that was my first interaction with virtual reality. I've got to say, it was a fantastic experience. So next I wanted to see what I can make. And like I said, we're not going to get into the full sculpture today, but I am going to make his signature weapon, Magus's scythe. And you're going to be able to see the process on that, and I'll talk you through a little bit what I'm doing. And then we'll get into a future video. So, without further ado, here is me sculpting Magus's scythe. Okay, so the first thing that I need to do is import a reference image. So you'll see me jumping back and forth between a few videos to make that happen. I'll use virtual desktop to actually go into my computer and import the image that I need of the scythe into the program. After that, I actually bring the image into my virtual world, and I'm going to use this as a reference to begin the scythe. I begin with the revolve tool. The revolve tool allows you to create a shape around an axis. Here I'm placing the axis to go straight with the side. Now this part was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be, to make sure that the line of the axis lined up perfectly with the scythe in order to get the right shape. So you see me fiddling back and forth quite a lot here just to line up that axis. So here is where I start the actual sculpting after I line it up a little bit better. and I decided to use points. So I'll keep clicking at individual points that match up to my reference image. And as you can see, for the most part, it comes together pretty quickly and easily. And one of the great parts about this program is that I can actually increase the size of my reference image and my model as much as I need to get finer details. So you'll see me moving the reference image up and down, as well as increasing and decreasing the size to make sure I get exactly what I needed. So I started again from the bottom because going from the top didn't work and everything wasn't lined up properly. But now you can see me going through and just matching up my lines to match up with the shape of the scythe. It was still slightly off, but close enough that I could use the reference image to come up with a bright general shape. Here I'm just doing fine little detail editing. Another great part about this program is it's as simple as a button push to grab the shape that you've worked with and start editing the lines that you've already done. So I'm going in and fine-tuning what I've worked on to make sure that everything matches up just right. So now you can see a three-dimensional shape placed right on top of the reference image. Here I'm just going through some settings to figure out what I can do with the shape using the preset settings. One of the things I learned from doing some more research and doing some more training versus the first time use is actually messing around with the polygons, using subdivision and using basic shapes to really work with the shape that I needed in the end. So I'm able to make a much more fine-tuned, less blocky object using the polygons rather than just trying to use basic sculpting. And that's what this program is really built for. This isn't as much a program to like take a ball of clay and smooth it out and make it what you want. It is a polygon editing tool, and a fantastic one at that. Makes everything much easier. So now I've got the actual staff done. It's time to make the blade. Here I'm just making a few more edits. Pulled the reference image to the side to make sure I can see it right next to the staff, to make a few more edits to make sure that it's right. So here I'm taking a cube. I'm setting it to mirror everything that I'm doing, and I'm placing it on top of the scythe. This is going to allow me to make the blade. I find it a lot easier to start with a cube and extrude sides than I do to try and draw a shape and extrude the shape, because that requires a lot more editing. And starting with a cube and extruding the sides, it's a lot easier to edit the points as needed rather than going through all the different shapes that you've created, all the different polygons that you've created by creating a shape, because that can create something a lot more hectic. So you're going to see a lot of editing going back and forth. And one of the things that I did is I turned the transparency down on the cube that I was working on so that I could see through it and to the reference image behind. This makes everything a lot easier to work on than trying to move things back and forth to make sure I've got everything lined up. So I start with the smallest part closest to the staff and work my way out. This makes sure that my first line stays straight and that everything will line up properly. Now, one of the really important things when dealing with polygons is that you want to look at it in shapes, small shapes. So the base of the scythe blade is really a basic parallelogram, and then it starts to curve outward from there. So here I'm making sure that the first basic parallelogram is the way it should be, and then I'm extruding the face of the part furthest from the staff in order to start making the blade. Now, one of the really nice things about this, another really nice thing about this program is that this cut tool is literally holding a scalpel in your hand. A virtual scalpel in your hand, and when you need to cut in a certain area, you hold the trigger and you slice in the area that you need to cut the line to create another vertices, or point, I should say, not vertices. and now I'm able to edit the vertices piece by piece as needed. So I'm extruding outward, and I make several extrusions to get a basic idea of the geometry of the side that I can then go back in afterwards and edit to make sure that I get everything right. Here I'm experimenting a little bit with the tools to see what the different ones do. And you'll see me moving back and forth with the same dots several times. And that's to make sure that they're in a spot that makes the overall shape easily editable. If the lines aren't in the right spot, then the overall shape is not going to look right because it's using basic polygons. So I want to make sure that there's an edge at the sharp point of the blade and an edge where the sharp point matches the flat area of the blade. So I want to make sure that my polygons match up to those two areas, and then of course the back. So basically 3 lines going down the blade that I can edit, and that's why it's very important to make sure that your polygons line up properly to be able to make this shape. Now we're going to be getting into this a lot more when it comes to doing the full Magus sculpture, because anytime we're going to be editing the face or the fingers or the body, I'm going to be using polygons and creating those polygons and doing extrusions, but it's going to be very important to make sure that the points are in the right spots to make sure that the polygons connecting those points curve around the object properly. So now you see me going in and really fine-tuning the blade that I already made, making sure that the thickness is proper along the top and making sure that the bottom vertices actually touch in order to give it that sharp appearance. Here I realized that my 2 last points were too far away from each other and I wasn't going to be able to get the blade to curve at the end the way that it needed to. The sharper a curve that you have, the more points you're going to need to create that. Now, you'll see the cutting tool right there. Absolutely fantastic. I was able to take that little scalpel and just slice it right down. That created the extra points that I needed to just move it up and finish out that shape. So this program makes it very easy and very user-friendly to create the shapes that you need. So you'll see me go in a few times with that scalpel and just create an extra point that I can then move and continue with the shape that I need. This program has gotten me very excited to do the entire sculpture, and I've got to admit, through my last 2 efforts of doing a sculpture that failed, I'm very excited to get right back into it and create the 3D sculpture this way. And personally, I'm a much bigger fan of doing it this way for a couple of reasons. One, even if the sculptures worked out perfectly, then they're fragile all the time, and if something happens, that's it. That's the only one you had. With this, you create a digital design that other people can enjoy, and if for some reason something happened to it, you just print another one. So now I've got the size, the shape that I need to be. I'm making a few more fine detail tuning that I couldn't see while I was on the reference image, to make sure that the curvature of the point of the blade and the curvature of the end of the blade match up. And now I'm simply placing it against the original handle, make sure that it lines up properly, that it's straight up and down, in the center, and at a 90-degree angle towards the center of the staff itself. Once I've done that, I'm able to group the two together and it is a single object. I am also able to create multiple layers, so when I start to do the statue, I'll make sure the staff is in its own layer and locked so that it can't get messed up. And there you have it. You have a scale-to-scale perfect model, 3D model of a 2D image that we started with. And here I'm just playing around with changing the colors of the different parts, but I end up reverting it back to the original to begin with. And there's our scythe. That was an adventure. So that was me sculpting Magus's scythe, and I've got to say, I could not be happier with the Oculus Quest 2 or with Gravity Sketch. I've done Blender sculpting before, and it's such a long and outdrawn process, and constantly having to move the screen to figure out, you know, where my points are and what I'm doing. This is a life-changing experience. If you can get one, and if you're into art or if you're into gaming, do not hesitate to get an Oculus Quest 2. This is not sponsored. This is just everybody should have this experience. And the great part about this is that the 64 gig version is only $299. I got the 256 gig version. This one is $399. But when you really break that down, just to get a graphics card to handle the polygon counts of a high 3D sculpture costs more than that. And to be able to do it in virtual reality and to be able to walk around the model that you're working with and pull your toolbars out to the side, it's unbelievable and makes the entire workflow just work so much better. Casey's trying to make a run for it here. So, absolutely a product you have to look into. So, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Your subscribes always help out the channel. And please comment what you'd like to see me make next, what we can build together next. Whether it be with VR or if you want to go back to the traditional art, we could do that too. So the next video that I'm going to do, we're going to be sculpting Magus and finishing out that statue, and then we'll be able to get into printing and sculpting it. So thank you again. Can't wait to see what we make together next. My name is Sean Humburg, and this is KC running all over the place, signing out.